Hello everyone and welcome. On behalf of Billings Life Australia, I would like to welcome you all to this webinar on the theme Fertility Literacy in the Digital World as part of Natural Fertility Awareness Week 2022. My name is Rachel O'Rourke and I'm one of the accredited Billings Ovulation Method teachers here in Australia. Firstly, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the various lands on which we meet today and extend a warm welcome to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people joining us this evening. I also pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. As you are aware, the topic for the webinar this evening is Fertility Literacy in the Digital World, the best use of fertility tracking apps. This theme has generated a lot of interest and we are looking forward to hearing from the speakers shortly. Just a reminder that this webinar is being recorded and we'll put it on our YouTube channel, Billings Life, in the next week. We welcome you to type in any questions throughout the webinar in your Q&A button that's at the bottom of your screen. So yeah, we will either be answering the questions as we go throughout the webinar or at the end we'll do that. And if your particular question isn't answered during the webinar, if we run out of time, then feel free to contact us afterwards and we'll put out the contact details at the end of the webinar. Also at the end, when we have all the panelists on view at once, you may wish to put us on gallery view. So if you see in the top right hand of your screen, there's a little button saying view. If you click on that, you can choose side-by-side gallery or side-by-side speaker. So you might want to play with that towards the end. But going back to the topic of the webinar this evening, which is fertility literacy in the digital world. So when we talk about fertility literacy, we're talking about women's understanding of their own fertility, cycles and reproductive health. So it's good to ask ourselves from time to time, how fertility literate am I? Or how fertility literate are those around me? Another question is, how do I become fertility literate? And one person who's interested in this topic is Felicity Rue, who is our first speaker for this evening. Felicity is a PhD candidate at the School of Population Health, Curtin University in Perth, Australia. She's currently working towards her accreditation in the Billings Ovulation Method, and she serves on the board of directors of the Australasian Institute for Restorative Reproductive Medicine. Felicity's particular interest is in teaching the menstrual cycle in schools to increase fertility literacy in young women. Her interest was sparked when she was working clinically as an accredited symptothermal method teacher, and women would exclaim, "I should have been taught this stuff at school." As a secondary school guest facilitator of relationships and sexuality education programs, Felicity also noticed that students had not grasped basics such as ovulation. So I'll pass over to Felicity now, and she's going to tell us some of the work she's doing in schools around fertility literacy. So thank you, Felicity.
Thank you very much, Rachel, and thank you for such a warm welcome and for inviting me to be here tonight. I have prepared a PowerPoint explaining the background of the research and giving some insight into the ways in which today's young girls like to track their cycle. So I will be sharing that now. I hope that you can all see that. So the candidacy began for my PhD on what's called the Ovulatory Menstrual Health Literacy Program. And I'm very grateful to be supported at Curtin University with the School of Population Health Just like to acknowledge my supervisors, Sharon Burns, Jackie Hendricks, and Yun Key, and also hugely supported by the past Dean, Professor Sandra Eads at Curtin Medical School. So I'm very grateful for all the help that's come my way. And it was initiated simply because of the prevalence that's noted in young adolescent girls with regards to a very high experience of period pain. They would experience mood swings, irregular cycles that goes with the developmental age that they're at, and also heavy blood loss. And it is noted in the literature that that's been associated, I'm not saying it's causing, just associated with high absenteeism in schools, missing classes, or if they're actually in class, they're struggling with the exams or just to concentrate. And it's also been linked with a poor body image and weight-losing behaviors, such as restricted eating or over-exercising.
Felicity, 1 second. Do you mind just sharing your screen again? It's not coming through yet.
Okay, my apologies. Okay, how's that?
No, is there a blue share screen button?
Yes, I've got that here.
There we go, that's it.
My
Thank you.
apologies for that. I'm sorry about that. Okay, so I'll go from, not from the beginning, but from where I was speaking to. How's that? Are we happy?
Perfect, thank you.
All right, so those are the associations it's with, including non-suicidal self-injury and poor quality of life. So a protocol was developed in order to investigate this and to see how a program can be put together so it's run in schools. At the time, I also looked at doing a systematic literature review of the types of programs that are currently delivered in schools or have been delivered in schools. Not wishing to put anybody to sleep with the rigor of the methodology that was used, I will say that it was started, or the time frame started in 1980 through to the actual time that the literature review was conducted. And the reason that 1980 was chosen is because that was when the Billings book was made available quite broadly and to lay people, so they could just very easily understand what was going on in their own cycles. And that was published by Lynn Billings and Anne Westmore. So it was widely available. It was published, available for many, and that was the date that was selected to conduct the literature review to see, well, who actually has picked up the book, looked at it and thought, well, how can we actually put this into practice? It was very interesting, the results that came out of that systematic literature review, which was simply to say that there were very few programs that actually looked at ovulation as the sign of good health. A lot of the focus seemed to be on pain or premenstrual syndrome, a whole lot of the difficulty surrounded with menstruation itself, rather than looking at the cycle as a whole. There were some noted programs, for example, Teen Star, that stood out very strongly as teaching the whole of the cycle, and particularly from a whole of person perspective. So that was where it began with systematic literature review. We put together a Delphi panel of experts in fertility as well as gynecologists, but also in education. And they helped us to draft a program and to draft a questionnaire. And then those were then taken into schools, was shown to teachers, school health carers, and say, well, what do you think? Do you think this program can work? Could you see yourself actually doing it? What changes would need to be made? And it was also shown to parents and to adolescent girls in focus groups, asking them the same questions. What changes do they think needed to be made? Was there anything missing? And the reaction was interesting. The parents, for example, the mothers would look at it and say, yeah, I wish I'd been taught this. And nobody ever explained this to me. And the girls were saying, we've never seen this really being taught in the schools. We get maybe a puberty lesson in year 6 or 7. And that's it. We don't hear of it again until we're learning about contraception in around about year 9 or year 10. So I looked at a variety of schools. It was in independent schools, Catholic schools, as well as in some of the government schools as well. And that overall was the feedback that I was getting. Based on what they were saying, the program was then refined and brought to a point we could actually be trialed. At the same time, we actually looked at how do we test that they have achieved ovulatory menstrual health literacy. And so we got 4 schools to help us with the retest validation of the questionnaire. That enabled us to actually produce an instrument that would help us measure whether or not the intervention, the program, had been successful. But essentially what came out of it is developed from the World Health Organization's school health promoting model. And so the program is couched not only in curriculum and teaching and learning, but it also looks at the ethos, the environment of each school, and also external to the school, the supporting partnerships and services. So specifically with teaching and learning, the program is mapped to the health and sciences curricula. It is based, it's strengths-based. So it sees the cycle as a wonderful positive thing in order to measure personal health. It's individualized. So the girls were encouraged to actually chart their own cycles. There were no apps that were used. It was very much a pen and paper, a kind of journal, reflective creativity that they're encouraged to do. And because we actually had that instrument, we could assess how they were learning. At the same time, we were working with the nurses, the psychologists, the chaplains within the school, and supporting them in case girls didn't want to speak to the teachers, but they wanted to see a nurse privately and say, yeah, I've got really bad period pain, or I'm moody. They were able to do that. And one of the ideas that came out of it is that they should actually create a health management plan. As much as you would have someone who has diabetes or asthma, they too have health management plans. And so for a girl who's got particularly severe cramps, she too should have one as well. And we also worked with external agencies. Because I work at Curtin Medical School, we worked with medical students and initiated peer-based teaching, where we trained up about 30 medical students to come in and deliver one lesson on the cycle and engage with the girls, where they were given stories of girls who had various problems, and they could speak through those stories rather than have any personal disclosures. And we also very much strongly engaged parent engagement, believing in transparency. At the same time, we developed a website. There were animations created, videos with adolescent girls, and we looked at also creating an online learning system for the teachers. So the trial actually went underway, that was last year. It was in one pilot school where 197 girls, they were in year 9, and it was situated in their health curriculum. We did a pre and post test of their scores, and I was the one who actually delivered each of the 5 lessons, and it was spaced over 16 weeks. And during that time, the girls were encouraged to creatively journal and understand through pen and paper tracking of their own cycles. We also, as I said, engaged the medical students. There were about 30 of them. At the end of that, we then did a post test of the girls. We did a focus group, and then we interviewed the students and also the healthcare professionals. And it was at this point it became very interesting to understand what it is that girls are looking for in order to understand, in their own word, what's going on in my body. And there was a reluctance to actually use the pen and paper journals that had been provided to them. There were some that actually took it up, and they were quite diligent in following that through. But the vast majority, by far, were all saying we would like to have an app. But I'll come to some of that a little bit later. What we did is we took their feedback on board, and that helped us to refine the cycle. And as a result, at the end of last year, the team were very pleased that we were actually able to achieve a number of awards for the program, which we took as an indication that there is a strong interest in this area. However, it's very much on where is this going to go in the future? And I think this is where it comes in. Yes, they would like to have health literacy and fertility literacy, but it has to be delivered in a certain way, on a certain platform. And so we made an application to the government of Western Australia, who were very generously providing us with funds to scope an app through the Future Health Research and Innovation Fund. And that came very much from the trial in which girls were saying, we want an app. But when they were asked, well, what's your experience of using the app? Well, they're saying, well, yeah, they don't work. They're very frustrating. They never seem to be quite on time in telling us when our periods are due. You know, they're a week off or 2 weeks off or something like that. So there was frustration with that. I also asked the question, and do you find whether or not your apps make assumptions about you? And some of the feedback we got from that is, yes, they do. Sometimes if we haven't had our period or I haven't logged on, it seems as if they think we're pregnant. And there was a little bit of, they were perplexed about that as to how that would be. Other feedback we got is what's known as the pinkification of apps. So there was a strong drive towards having gender neutrality rather than having roses and flowers and feathers or whatever it was they're using. They'd prefer having something a lot more neutral. So there was a lot of interesting data that we've collected and what would be needed to make an app that would be helpful for them. And so the point of this, where we'd like to move now, is to actually have the app developed and move towards working with the whole of school. We're looking across the different professions. We're also looking across the discipline within the professions as well, and across the years. Very much engaging with the parents, particularly if it comes to, for instance, prescribing any medication that is going to impact the cycle. And also working with the community healthcare professionals as to how a girl could then liaise, for instance, with a GP, and how meaningful data could be presented to the GP that could actually help with any diagnoses. And the impetus of this a lot came from the mental health needs of girls, and tying together the menstrual cycle with the with mental health. So that pretty much well summarizes where we got to, where the project is at. Very much pointing towards the use of an app, that it needs to be tailored, I think, to a specific population. And that would, I would say, be the conclusions of our project. Thank you.
Oh, sorry about that. My mouse decided to go off somewhere. Thank you so much, Felicity. That was really interesting to hear about that work that you've been doing, and such important work. So it'll be great to really watch that space, and you know, it'd be great to see it rolled out a lot around, you know, high schools everywhere, really. I was thinking it'll be interesting when we hear from Adrian later to talk about the Billings app, because maybe there's some crossover there you two could work on.
Thank you, that'd be lovely.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much. And yeah, as I mentioned earlier, if people have any questions, then please feel free to write that in the Q&A, and perhaps we can, at the end, if Felicity's available, she'll be able to answer some questions about that. Thanks, Felicity. So in a moment, we're going to look at the 3 WOMB approved fertility tracking apps. Before we do, I just wanted to make the point that probably the most important step in becoming fertility literate is having an accredited teacher in a scientifically proven method. So tonight we're coming from the perspective of the Billings Ovulation Method, which is a scientifically proven method of natural fertility awareness. Trials and studies over many years have shown a woman's cervical mucus to be the most reliable sign of fertility and infertility. The key to the Billings ovulation method is that you can identify by the sensation and appearance of your cervical mucus your patterns of fertility and infertility. Using the method, you and your partner can be confident of knowing whether you are fertile or infertile on any particular day, and so decide when to make love depending on if you wish to achieve or avoid a pregnancy. So reaching that level of confidence certainly requires a Billings Ovulation Method teacher in the first instance to help you interpret your chart accurately, as every woman's cycle is unique and changes depending on what else is going on around her. One of the keys to working with a Billings Ovulation Method teacher is you and her or him looking at your charts together, and her or him asking lots of questions to ensure that what's being recorded is succinct and accurate, and then the teacher helping you identify your patterns of fertility and infertility. So like Felicity mentioned, traditionally the charting was done on pieces of paper, like this is an example here. It's a bit hard to see, but where you use these little stickers to mark your days, and then underneath write whether your sensation and appearance of the cervical mucus. So there's a line for each cycle. Sorry, it's not very clear, but I guess I'm just showing you to make you the point that if you were using Billings for a while, you can imagine you start accruing lots of bits of paper, and it's easy to spill coffee over them or to lose them, forget to bring them to your appointments. So that's why in the last 10 years, there's been an emergence to changing this into a digital form. And as you've probably seen, there are so many, it's kind of taken off recently, there are so many fertility tracking apps. I think I read the other day that there are over 400 fertility tracking apps available to women just in Australia, so there must be a lot more out there. So for people coming into this space for the first time, it is a bit of a minefield knowing which ones to use or which ones not to use. And the Billings Ovulation Method through the womb, which is the World Organization Ovulation Method Billings, has 3 approved apps out of the many that are out there. And these 3 are NFP Charting Online, Fertility Pinpoint, and the Billings app. And we're lucky tonight that we have 3 more speakers to speak about each of these particular tracking apps. So first of all, we have Alicia Reeve. Alicia is joining us from New Zealand. Alicia is a registered nurse and the National Coordinator of Billings Life in New Zealand. And she's going to talk to us tonight about NFP Charting Online, or Natural Family Planning Charting Online. So thank you for joining us, Alicia.
Oh, thank you for having me. So good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be introducing you this evening to the NFP Charting Program. This is a program that's been designed for users and teachers of the Billings Ovulation Method. Like all of the 3 womb-approved charting programs, the NFP program makes no attempt at predicting days where women are either fertile or infertile. NFP charting offers you a charting account that can be accessed through either the website or a phone app. And I'm going to share my screen with you so we can go through the website together and the functions that it has. So the NFP charting website is available at nfpcharting.com, and this takes you to the homepage of the website where you can either enroll for an account by simply selecting the Enroll Now function or log into an existing account. If you're wishing to chart on the NFP Charting phone app, these apps can be found either at App Store or Google Play, and it's under the name NFP Charting. And once that app has been downloaded onto your device, It either walks you through setting up an account, or you can log into an existing NFP charting account. For this evening's presentation, I've created a mock teachers account with a number of mock clients, and the clients are some of our New Zealand teachers who have set up charting samples accounts through their account and shared it with me. So none of the charts we're looking at this evening are actual real clients' charts. So this is how the NFP charting website is displayed, and here, so just let me keep it still. Here you'll see the authentic Billings stamps, which a woman selects a stamp for each day as it applies to that day of charting. So what we're going to do is, the first thing that she does is selects the day that she's wanting to record. And then she simply ticks below the stamp she wishes to insert on her chart. And you'll see it appears on the right-hand side of the screen. And then under here is where she's going to be writing her observations of her cervical mucus. And we're going to put into that observation here that she felt dry. The one aspect of this charting site that isn't intuitive is where to find the 1, 2, 3 count for the peak rule and early day rule 3, and how to mark the peak day, which is the most fertile day in the cycle. But once you know where to find it, it's quite simple. So there's a little drop down arrow here, which provides you with the count of 1, 2, 3 and the peak symbol. And for this day, we're going to enter the count of 2 simply by clicking it, and you'll see it's added to this day of charting here. So to add that record onto your chart, you then click add. And you'll see down here that day 18 has been added to the chart. What I particularly like about NFP charting is the way that the chart is displayed as you create it. You have a row of 35 days displayed in one line, which is the same as the paper charting with stamps. When a new chart needs to be started, or a new cycle with the first day of menstruation, you simply click Start New Cycle with that day of recording, and a new line of charting is created below the line above. When there's an act of intimacy, that is recorded by simply ticking the intercourse button, and you'll see that an I is inserted on that day of the chart, and the same goes if there's a need for adding spotting to the chart. That is simply selected with a tick, and is spots are added to indicate there was some spotting on that day. One of the useful functions of this NFP charting site is the ability for the account holder to share the chart. And there's 2 ways that this chart can be shared. At the top of the website page, you'll see this share button, which either allows the chart account holder to send their chart directly via email to the person they wish to send it to, and they just add their email account and push submit. And the other very useful function is that once you have an account set up and you perhaps are learning the method through an accredited Billings teacher, you're able to select that teacher to be able to view your chart. And that's done simply by choosing the country that you're in to start with, and there's quite a few countries where NFP charting is used, and we'll go to New Zealand being my home. You do need to click change country, which will then bring up all of the teachers available in New Zealand. You'll see here that some of the names have an asterisk by them, which is indicating that they are trainee teachers of the Billings method who are teaching under direct supervision of an accredited teacher. So for our practice tonight, we've created a sample student or teacher, and that's been clicked, and then you need to save changes to add yourself to your teacher's account. So if I pop up here and look at my teacher's account here, I'll see that sample has been added as a client. The useful thing about this chart sharing function is that once you've selected a teacher who you can share your chart with, you can then message them directly from your Billings chart as you make it up. So you'll see here under each day of charting, there's a little notepad symbol. And when you click on that, And I'm not sure if this actually is appearing on your screen, but a text box appears where you're able to write a message to your teacher and hit the submit button. And when that happens, the teacher receives an email from the website to say that a particular client has asked a question. The question itself isn't displayed in the email for security purposes, and the teacher is directed back to the website and to the client who's asked the question, and she can simply look at the client's chart and see here that this notepad symbol is shaded, and she can see that this is the day that the question's been asked. And she can go in and see what the question was and then write her response, and then again hit submit, where then the person who's asked the question will get an email directing them back to their charting site to see the reply from their teacher. Another useful function on the NFP charting is the ability to print the sample, to print the chart. This is very useful for teachers who are keeping paper records where they, with the client's permission, take a record of the chart at the end of each appointment and put it into the progress note so that they can have a record of what was taught in relation to the actual chart. So in this print function, the background colours are all removed, and again the chart is displayed in the similar way as the paper chart with stamps, where when it's printed, it's in a line of 35 days of charting, and the observations that are recorded are very clear and easy to see. Often teachers now are teaching virtually and have digital secure sites for storing their clients' records and histories. And so what we're suggesting people do now is simply take a screenshot of the chart or use the snipping tool program to copy the chart or the section of the chart that's relevant, and then simply paste it into the digital record. And again, it displays very clearly for the teacher to view. The paper chart also, when it's able to be printed, is very useful, perhaps in situations where it's the client has been sent for perhaps a medical review if the chart isn't showing quite what's expected. So being able to print off kind of the charting history and send with that referral is very useful. And also perhaps if the teacher is wanting a second opinion from perhaps another Billings teacher. And clients also sometimes prefer to have a printed copy of their chart as well as the digital version. There's some functions on NFP charting which are particularly useful for teachers, and one of those is the ability to draw hormone lines. So here there's a hormone line function, and when that's selected, you'll see here that there is a space here for drawing hormone lines. And so the teacher simply clicks the colour and is able to draw the ovarian hormones to correspond with the signs that the woman's chart is showing. And those hormone lines can either be saved or cleared. And it's probably not a function that's used a lot in actual teaching, but perhaps more in the training and professional development of teachers, where you're looking at the ovarian hormones in relation to what's happening day by day with what the woman has charted. Another function that's very useful for teachers is to check the confidence of the charter and the charting diligence. And you'll see here my list of mock clients, and if we have a look at this chart, you can see that the teacher is able to view the client's cycles either by individual cycles or by viewing all the data. So all of her charts will be all lined up, and she'll be able to see, months or years worth of charting history. Or down here, we've got confidence level. So when this is selected, the chart is able to be viewed. And so this client's only got one cycle charted, but she goes to the chart she wishes to view and clicks on that. And you'll see here that this woman's chart has another row underneath. And what this is showing, and there's a wee record here to explain what these colours mean, this +4 days, which was charted on day 1, is showing us that that record was made 4 days retrospectively. It wasn't made on the actual date. Then here on day 2, it's showing us that that was charted 2 days retrospectively, and here 1 day retrospectively. When there's no number written in, it's showing that that day was recorded on the actual date. So that's a very useful tool for teachers to see how clients are going, getting into the routine of charting every day. And we know that, to use the Billings method well, one needs to chart daily, not retrospectively. When a student has selected a teacher to view her chart, there is the ability to unshare the chart at any time. And the teacher is also not able to edit the chart. So the only person who can make changes to the account holder's record is actually the account holder. So if there is an error that's been made with the charting, it's very easy to change by clicking that day, and you'll see a text that box has become highlighted, and any changes can be made. And we'll do here, and then resubmitted, and the stamp can be changed and then added, and you'll see that has now changed on that day of charting. I'm going to stop screen sharing now. It was a very quick overview of a wonderful charting program. The app works in a very similar way, but I don't believe you can actually print the chart from the app. But if one wanted to print their cycle, they simply need to go and log on to their account through the website, where they can get access to that print function. So just a quick word about the security of this website. NFP Charting is a secure site. The user's passwords are encrypted, and in the unlikely event of a breach of personal data, the information cannot be tied back to the charting data. I can provide more technical details during the question and answering session if required. The webmaster of the site has given me a lovely explanation, but I think for most of us it's a little bit above our comprehension. So in conclusion, the benefits of this charting program is that it's a secure womb-approved charting program. The messages and the charting share functions allows the teacher to view the chart online as required. Access to the chart is available through either the website or the phone app. And digital charting allows couples to learn the method in the comfort of their own home, and the ability to access distance learning services with an accredited Billings Ovulation Method teacher. The teacher and the clients are able to stay connected regardless of the physical distance, or other factors such as when pandemics mean that the teacher and the client are unable to meet face-to-face. Factors for the user to consider is that the website and the phone app need to be connected to the Wi-Fi for you to be able to make a daily record of your charting. So yes, that's just my very brief overview of the NFP charting website, and I will pass you back to Rachel.
Thanks, Alicia. That was great. A really good overview of NFP charting. So thanks so much for all of that. Okay, so the next one we have that we're going to look at is Fertility Pinpoint, and Carla Chigwedden, who is our very own teacher here in Australia, as well as she has a master's in education herself, and she's a fertility pinpoint tutor. She's going to talk us through that. So welcome, Carla. Have we got Carla? Here she
Thanks,
comes.
Rachel. Here I am.
Thank you.
Hi, thanks everyone for joining us today. I'm just going to share my screen as well so I can bring up a little presentation to talk to. So as Rachel said, I am a accredited Billings Ovulation Method teacher, and I've been teaching and using Fertility Pinpoint for quite a while now. So I'm just going to do a quick overview of how it works. So basically, using the web browser of your choice on whichever device is convenient, you go to the web browser. Sorry, 1 second, just had a little bit of a malfunction there. There we go, that's better. Can everyone see that okay? Great. So because it's a web browser rather than an app, it doesn't matter what device you're on or what browser you use. You simply navigate to the web browser and you'll go to this landing page. So you can see there are two sections here. We've got new users and existing users. So obviously for existing users, you just enter your login details, and by ticking the Remember Me box, you can save those details to speed up the login process next time. For new users, you can click on either the pink or the blue button to sign up to learn how to chart with a teacher, or you can just click on the green button to create a charting account without a teacher. Once you log in, this is the first page you see. We call this the Enter Data page. So this shows you your current cycle and tells you how many days need completing. So if you are up to date with your charting, it will only be one day that needs completing. That's the day that you're logging in to record. If you've missed a few, then you'll have that many dates needing completion. So to record a day's chart entry, you click on the green record button. This brings up the chart data dialog box. Here you can see all the options for the symbols, as well as a few other fields. So if you haven't charted before, you might look at all these options and think that's a bit much. But your teacher will explain that the red or spotting symbols are for days of bleeding. The plain green or the plain yellow are for days that are identified as your BIP. The basic infertile pattern in your pre-ovulatory phase. And then we've got the post and peak and luteal phase. The white baby is for potentially fertile days. Use the X to mark the peak. And then we've got the symbols with numbers, which are for the rules around the timing of intercourse based on what the individual charter notices and records. So let's just have a quick look at these other fields. One great feature of Fertility Pinpoint is that you can't actually save a day's record without a sensation. If you tried to click save without a sensation typed in, it won't let you. And any Billings teacher will tell you the most important thing to record on your day's chart entry is the sensation that you notice that day. If you tick the intercourse box, a love heart will show on that day's entry. And if you tick the contacted tutor box, a blue telephone symbol will show. When you write a description in the appearance field, that will show on a second line on your chart entry. And if you add any additional info in this box, there'll be a little pencil icon that will show that there is a note added to that day's entry. So this is where you can add things like you've been sick, you've got a baby that's not sleeping well, you're stressed about work or whatever it is. You can add those extra bits of information there. So on a computer, if you hover over that icon, it'll pop up saying what that note is. One last option is at the top of this dialog box, and that's the start new cycle. So this is ticked on the first day of flow of a new cycle, and it will start the new cycle, and your previous one will be accessible under chart history. So these are the examples of all those little symbols that come up. Just one quick note on the difference between symbols and stamps. So Rachel showed you the paper chart, the old paper chart, the massive A3 piece of paper with actual physical stickers. That is the sticker symbol, and this is the symbol. So we've got here some dots and lines and numbers and equal signs and circles, and so these symbols are used where people didn't have access to the stickers and needed just a quick annotation to be able to record with pen or pencil. Just wanted to show that this is an option on Fertility Pinpoint if people were used to those symbols and wanted to keep using them. The color-coded stamps obviously add that extra visual element to a chart, makes it a bit easier to see distinct phases, patterns, and changes. So the other tab in this dialog box is the Messages tab. And this is the function that makes it super easy to communicate between the client and the teacher. Either the charter or the teacher can click on any day in the chart and then click on the Messages tab and write a message. The other person will get an email notification that they have a message to read on the chart. For those new to charting, this function is helpful for a teacher to go through and comment about specific days or ask questions about a description recorded or a symbol used, or for the user to ask their teacher a question. So to allow this to happen, the charter must first share their chart with the teacher. This happens under the Sharing tab. They simply type the teacher's email address into the box and click Send Invitation. The teacher will be given viewing access to the chart, and the charter can also share her chart with her partner, who would be able to set up a non-charting account for free. The chart owner is always in control of who can see her chart. She can stop sharing with anyone at any time. And she is the only person who can make changes to her chart entries. The second tab on the menu here is the chart history option. And this is where you'll find all previous cycles charted, not just the current one. So each bar here shows what number cycle it is, as in since she started charting on Fertility Pinpoint, and the dates that that cycle covers, and the number of days that are in that cycle in brackets, just for quick reference. To see the chart for each cycle, you simply click on the bar and it will expand. So you can see here, this is a cycle that's been charted, the first day of bleeding, all the way through to BIP, the fertile phase. A peak has been identified, counted 3 days, and then we're into the luteal phase. Once you can see a cycles chart, there is also the Show Charting Diligence option. So by clicking on, just here, clicking on this, you'll see the days with a number or color code instead of the chart symbols. And the same as what Alicia was talking about with NFP charting. It will just tell you whether they charted that entry on the day with the green 0, a day later with a yellow 1, 2 days later with the orange 2, whoops, or 3 or more days later with the red. So this is useful for the teacher, because if you're looking at a client's chart and it's a little confusing, you're not quite sure what's going on, if you look at the charting diligence and if there are lots of orange or red days, then it just gives you something that you can talk to the client about. One of the key points to charting accurately with the Billings Ovulation Method is to chart every evening. It's no good waiting until the end of the week and then thinking, oh, I need to record my chart. What was I feeling on Monday? The chart will not be accurate and the method's rules will not be effective. The Personal Details tab here is where the charter can record any relevant details if necessary. These are all details that are recorded on a history card. So this is more useful for just personal record. The Other People's Charts tab is where a teacher can find all the charts being shared by clients, or a non-charting account holder can view the chart that's been shared with them. The My Account tab has some editable settings. This is where you can change whether you're using the stickers or the symbols that I showed before. How often you receive email notifications. You can change the color theme, and then also say whether it's a charting account or not. So you can be confident that your personal data is being kept secure. I'll go into it a little bit here. Basically, we use asymmetric cryptography. So this is a cryptographic system that uses pairs of keys. Each pair consists of a public key, which may be known to others, and a private key, which is not known by anyone except the owner. The generation of these key pairs depends on cryptographic algorithms, which are based on mathematical problems termed one-way functions. Effective security requires keeping the private key private. The public key can be openly distributed without compromising security. So Fertility Pinpoint uses data is encrypted at rest when it's stored in the Fertility Pinpoint database. Encrypted at rest means that data encryption is the process of translating from one form of data into another form of data that unauthorized users can't decrypt. This happens through an algorithm that can't be understood by a user who doesn't have an encryption key to decode it, thus ensuring that the data stays secure. With encryption at rest, stored data is protected from a system compromise or data exfiltration. This means that even if there was a data breach, your personal data could not be viewed or used. So the million-dollar question, is this an app? the answer is not exactly, but pretty much. I'm just going to share my sound and I'll play this video for you. This is a video that will show how you can use the web browser on your phone to access Fertility Pinpoint and set it up like an app.
This video will show you how to create a shortcut to Fertility Pinpoint on your phone's home screen. So it's almost like having an app. All you need to do is navigate to your phone's web browser, whichever browser you use. In this instance, I will open my Chrome web browser. You navigate to Fertility Pinpoint website, and then you can see there's a little remember me box which you can tick so that it saves your username and password, so you don't need to type it in each time. In the top right hand corner there are 3 dots. I'm going to click on them, and halfway or 3/4 of the way down there's an add to home screen option. So I will click on that. It's got add to home screen here. You can change the name of it if you want. I'm just going to leave it as it is. Click on add. And you can either add automatically or you can tap and hold on this icon here, which will allow you to place it where you like. So I'm just going to place it right here on this home screen. And there we have it. It's like your own little Fertility Pinpoint app. So now whenever you want to use it, all you have to do is click on that icon. This video will show you how
We don't want to watch that again. Okay, so the main takeaway from this presentation, I hope, is that this is not an app that goes off a calendar-based or rhythm method with a set number of days for fertile and infertile phases. Those apps are just not accurate. This method of charting is based solely on each individual woman's observances of her own individual signals of fertility. The woman is able to identify her pattern of fertility and infertility to work out the timing of intercourse for herself. Thank you for listening. Hopefully that's given a clear picture, but happy to take some questions that anyone might have later. Thanks, Rachel.
Thanks, Carla. That was really good. Great. So we might now pass over to Adrian, who's been waiting very patiently. And Adrian's joining us all the way from Mexico. So thank you so much, Adrian, for coming along. Adrian's an electrical engineer specialising in web and mobile apps. And he actually developed the Billings app together with his wife. So yes, Adrian's going to step us through the Billings app, which is relatively new. And yeah, welcome, Adrian. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Rachel. Thank you, everybody. It's an honor. In the next few minutes, I'll try to tell you why we did this app and similar to the other apps, how it works. So let me try to share my screen. Okay, so basically I want to talk a couple of minutes just about why we did this app, what are the features and the history a little bit, and then we just go through a little demonstration of how between clients or users share their data with the teacher and how the teacher can help the users. Sorry, I clicked the wrong button. Okay, so when my wife and I started and we became Billings Ovulation Method accredited teachers, we realized that in some cases, your clients cannot afford to pay the app or the fee. And for teachers, it's difficult because sometimes you have access to the digital chart, and it's very easy for us to review charts. But when they don't have an app, you have to go either with meeting or presence, and it was difficult. So our main objective was to be accessible to everybody. So this app has a free version that allows you to chart daily without having to pay a fee. And this is, for example, in Africa, it's very helpful, where the majority of the people cannot afford to pay it, and still teachers from other countries or the same country can help. Another thing we realized that we were trying to get multiple languages. By the time we were trying to use it, it was not exactly the same as in Spanish that we were trying to use. And so this app has more than 5 languages, 7 now, and there are 2 more coming. So we're trying to get the languages from each country to help us and be sure that we use the same words as you were being taught in your country. And of course, we wanted to have clients to be making it easier for them to chart and for teachers to review remotely those charts as well. And exchanging messages will bring the teachers and the users closer. And finally, we have a premium version. This is optional, but with that premium, what we're trying to do is get a self-sustainable model. Basically, is trying to get the enough funds to keep going this app in the future, and we keep those options about we're encouraging people, if they can, to buy the premium version. That way, we allow all the other people that they can't to also have access to the same app. So the features you will find in this app is simple and secure. Again, we were trying to see, for example, that your charts are back up daily. We have a fail-safe mechanism with the server. We are implementing the same security standards as Google or Facebook. So basically, we're trying to make it simple, but at the same time secure. Also, you may uninstall the app, you may lost your phone, but still we have a secure copy of your registries in the server. So that way, if you change your cell phone, if you come back again 2 years later, we keep those records saved. Also, we allow the users to link their accounts with their spouse. That's also helpful because each one has their own cell phone and their own email, so they can just link those accounts and both can chart and review the charts on their own cell phones. But also it's helpful when they make questions to the teacher. So that way, the teacher knows if the question is coming from the women or from the men. That sometimes helps to know exactly how to approach the answer. Of course, you can share the chart with your accredited teacher, and we track that list of teachers. So we have an administrator on each country. That way, we are sure or certain that only accredited teachers have access to the teacher system. That way, the clients can be secure that nobody else, but only an accredited teacher can review the chart if you choose to share the chart. There is also an offline mode. This allows you to, even for, I don't know, you're traveling, you don't have access to Wi-Fi, you can enter into offline mode and you can still save your registrations. Let's say that you go for vacation for a couple of weeks or for a few days and you don't have access to Wi-Fi. Well, you can keep charting, saving, and the next time the application knows that you have internet, it will upload those registrations to the server. So the teacher will be able to see those as soon as you have Wi-Fi again. Of course, we have the premium version, and this app is available in a website, but also on Apple or Android stores. The free version allows you to do the charting. Either you can choose symbol or stamps. It allows you to link your account with your spouse, the sharing the chart with your accredited teacher. You can chat without internet, and you can contact support. So pretty much we're allowing everybody to keep tracking their fertility without having to or being forced to pay. That was one of the main objectives of this app. So the free version has that. The premium version gives you the ability to review the teacher's notes directly in the app. Otherwise, if you only have the free version, you will receive email notifications with any observations from your teacher. So it's easier to see it on the app, but that's only an option if you pay the premium version. You can also exchange messages. I'll show you in a second. You can set an alarm or a reminder so you don't forget to save your daily registrations. You can customize the colors of the app, and then you can have your charts in PDF. Either you can send them by email or print them. And the price around the world is $10 for 1 year or $25 for 5 years. This is just a little slide to show that we took about 2.5 years to be able to finish the application in a proper way. We were very careful that following exactly the symbols and stamps and everything that's on the official documentation from WOM International. And so in 2020, that's when we got our final review, and that's when this app became officially approved by WOM International and then distributed worldwide. So with that, I'm gonna stop the presentation. I'm gonna move to the website, and I'll quickly show you how this works. So if you go to the website, and I have a slide for that for you with all the links. This is the billingsapp.io, and that's the website. But you will see the similar page if you go to the either Apple or Android. It will be the look and feel very similar. So if you haven't registered, if this is the first time, you just need to click on the register. The only thing you need to submit is the country that you're coming from, and then your email. After that, you get an email, and then you will set up your password, and you're ready to go. The languages is on the bottom right corner, this little icon. So right now we have 7 languages, and 2 more are coming. So if you have different users from different languages, they can just switch to those languages. So once you have your account, you just log in, and this is an example of the chart, for example, starting today, right? Now, what you're seeing right now is just a calendar. The only row that's in white that you can enter data is today. Everything is grayed out because it's in the future. What users they need to do is just click on the date they want to save their registration. And again, they can just leave the sensation only. That's the required field. Appearance is not. And let's say just for time being, they're going to select a stamp. And I purposely selecting the wrong one. I'll show you in a second how that will work. So I'm going to save that. And now you can see that the color or symbol is properly shown, that you put sensation. If you have appearance and you want to make a change, then you can just do save that again. Yeah, just click on it, click save, and then it's updated, right? If you decided, oh, I select the wrong stamp or not, then you can change it and save it again, and that's how you just easily update. There's a little section on notes, so if there's anything extra you can add, usually when you are lactating, or if you're taking medicines or something happened, you can leave a note here, and just leave a note. Sometimes it's very helpful for a teacher or even for yourself to remember what happened during that day, right? Again, I'm gonna just go back really quick, purposely select a wrong stamp, and that's it. If you are being taught, instead of stamps on symbols, you can just click on the bottom right corner icon, and they can just change to symbols, and that is automatically gonna change your chart. So I'm gonna switch back to stamps. So once you have there, I'm going to show you a couple of things. One is on the top right corner, you can select here you see a few menus. If you do not know a teacher, if this is a user that just wants to learn and doesn't know exactly who can help, you can just click on the I want to learn. And if you provide your information and click send, the administrator people in your country will receive an email notification, and they will contact you telling you which accredited teacher can help you. So this is very helpful in case you do not know which teacher can help you. Just click on it and you will receive an email back. If you know, you can just share that with your teacher. So in this case, I'm going to set myself here. You need to know the email. And then if you click next and it's found in the system as a valid accredited teacher, then you will see the information. That way you know for sure if you selected the right teacher, and then you can click share. When you do that, then the teacher will receive an email notification, and they will start have access to the view mode only for your chart. The other thing I wanted to show you is that you can link your accounts, and this is you can link your account with your spouse. In this case, it's already linked. The only thing you need to provide is the email of your spouse. And once you click link, the next time your spouse opens the app, then it will get a notification and it will be an ask, do you want to link your account with your spouse? And if you say yes, after that, both will be looking and seeing the same chart. So that's really, really much what you have on charting. There is a little section about your profile where you can, optionally, you can select or provide more information about, for example, your birth date or occupation. We also left a section for health. We usually, as a teachers, we ask our clients to go and fill in this information. This helps us a lot about medical history or anything about that may be related. If you're taking medicines, if you have a history of a pregnancy, or for example, in this case, you have diabetes in your family. So this, we left this information there. It's optional, but if you save it and you share your chart, you're also sharing this information with your teacher, which that, of course, the idea is that you give more information for them so they know what's happening with you. So finally, I'm going to go back to cycles. So in this case, with this account, we have a lot of cycles. This is an account my wife and I, we have for many years charting. So you can easily go to different cycles. I'm going to just click on this button to see chart, and then you see the chart from the previous cycle. Again, you can even on the top menu, go here and drop down, select different cycles as well. So you can easily go back and forth with different history in case you want to go back and check something. Okay, so I'm gonna quickly switch now to the Billings teacher. And in this case, they only the accredited teachers have access to. This is a separate app and a separate website. But if you log in as a teacher and you have been shared a chat with you, you will see it here. So in this case, for example, for this teacher, you see that the couple has a linked account. You can see information about both. If you decide, or if they fill in the information about the profile or health, you can see that information in here. So you can see what they enter. This is very helpful for our teachers. And then, of course, you can click on the charts. If a teacher, now you see that the teacher has access to Maria's chart, and you can see that he has access to all the history, right? So they can go back and see the previous cycle and see how that behaves on the previous cycles, and then go back to the today's cycle. And lastly, if you have a comment, a teacher can just click on these row messages, and you can say, for example, here you have, I'll just make it very simple, the wrong stamp. Please be sure to use the red one. This is handled as a little message history, so you will know a little, if there are any exchange messages on each day, you will be able to follow the history on that day only. If you see now, there is a little check mark telling you that there is a message for that day. So that way you can always click back and either add more information or just review it. When a teacher does this, the client will receive an email notification that they have information to see. If they only have the free version, they will receive that notification in the email itself, so they can see what the teacher said. But if they do have the premium version, they will be able to see it on the app. So just to finalize this demonstration, I'm going to switch back to the Billings app. I'm going to just log out and log in. So let's say that the next day, the client goes and logs in, right? And then you will see now that there is a little question mark in the messages for this. So that's a very helpful way to identify in which day a teacher tells you that you need to do something. I can try to click on it. And for this case, it's going to tell you that you need to have the premium version to see it directly in the app. We offer if you click next during this dialog, it's tell you what the premium version is going to give you. And you can always select the first one for free. I'm going to just do that and click OK. Once you have the premium version activated, now you can click on it, and now you can see the messages directly in the app. So you can say and answer anything, either have more questions on it. Now you can see that the little messages, instead of a question mark, is a green check. And now, of course, I can click again on this day, change and put the right stamp and click save. So that way is how clients and teachers can exchange or communicate. When a client leaves when your client leaves a message to the teacher will receive an email notification, and then either the teacher can just click sync here or can log out, log in. So I'm gonna just do that. And then the next time you see open it, you will see a little question mark in here. So this is helpful for teachers if you have 20 or 10 different clients at the same time. If you see a question mark, that's an indication that something or your client has questions about it. So you can click on the chart, and then it's going to tell you out of all the cycles, in which cycles they have questions. So that's also a cue where you need to go and look. Now you can see that I click the today's cycle for Maria, and then you can see that for today's, there is a little question mark. I can see that she answered, thank you. And now I can also see that the symbol or the stamp was properly changed. So that's pretty much how it works. It was a little quick. I saw on the Q&A, there is a little bit about if you can buy the premium version for others. So in the Billings Teacher app, teachers can buy the premium version for their clients if they choose to. Sometimes it's helpful because they may not have the credit card, or they are depending on the training, it's already been paid and you included that on that fee on the training. Either way, you can just click on buy a premium version for others, set up the email for that client, and then go through the App Store to buy it. With that, I'm gonna just get back to the presentation, just to leave you a few resources where you can have the Billings app, either web, Android, or Apple. The Teachers app, only for accredited teachers, same, either the web, the Android, or Apple. And there is also, the last thing I wanted to show you is the user's guide. We have this user's guide also in 5 different languages, but this is also very helpful for teachers or for clients. But sometimes they ask me a lot, hey, how do I change or modify my cycle? How do I add more days? So this user's guide is going to answer the majority of the or basic questions that most of the user has. So how do I add more days to my cycle? You can direct them to, okay, go to the user's guide on page 10 or page 8, and then you will see with little screenshots where you need to click to make those changes. So hopefully that resource will be also helpful for clients and teachers as well. With that, I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to pass back to Rachel. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Adrian. That was great to learn more about the Billings app. And I was just, one question I just had was that PDF, if people want to access it, would it be on the Billings app website?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, I was just wondering about that PDF of the user's guide.
Yes.
Whereabouts is that available if people wanted to look at it?
Oh yeah, I can pass you the wherever you present. I can give you the presentation and you can share that. I can give you the links, whatever you prefer to make it available. But yeah, that is just a click. The idea of making a link is that if there are any updates or we add extra pages, it will always be updated. So just click on that link. It will take you to the most recent user's guide.
Oh, great. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Okay. So there are, so Carla's just put up here the contact details for those 3 apps that we've covered this evening. So Fertility Pinpoint, the Billings app, and NFP Charting Online. I know that we've kind of gone over time. Carla, there are a few questions there. Are any of our panelists around to answer some of those questions too?
Yes, we do have a few questions, Rachel. Some of them have kind of been answered as we went, but there's a couple here that we probably should address before we finish up. We've got a question about NFP charting for Alicia. Someone has asked, fantastic presentation, Alicia. How can we buy the app for our users?
So the app needs to be set up by the user. So it's the user who owns the app, and then they have complete control over who they share that with. So they either access that through Apple or the Android stores, or go online to the nfpcharting.com and set up their charting account from there. Not sure if has that answered the question?
I think so.
Yeah, there is a fee for the app. I think it's $19 for 1 year of charting. The first month is free, and you can also get a monthly or 3 monthly subscription as well.
We've got another question here, which is interesting. I'm not sure it's not really for any one particular person, but it's saying, can you speak to the possibility of having more trained male Billings practitioners? I believe there is a desperate need for more practitioners in Australia. However, it's very hard for males to access this training, even medically trained males. This doesn't seem to make sense given that many OBGYNs are males. So I guess my response to that would be, the teacher training is absolutely available to males, and we do hold Billings medical practitioner training courses as well to try and generate that interest. So if there are any male practitioners who are keen to become Billings accredited practitioners, by all means get in contact and we'll get you onto it. There's another question for you, Alicia, from Kath. She's asking, do you teach couples how to use the app as part of your teaching, or do you send them to the app to figure it all out for themselves?
I find that most people that choose to use the app over the website are quite kind of app literate, and it's very quick for them to work out how to use the app. With the website, most teachers tend to use the website for teaching, because then you can screen share, like we were this evening, the client's chart, and the client can make changes to any stamps, etc., that may need to be made. The app works very similar to the way the website works, but I personally don't show people how to use the app. I show them where they can download it from, and they tend to quickly pick it up from there.
Very good. We've got a few other questions. There's one from Emmanuel asking if the apps work well during postpartum, if there's been no menstruation for a long time. And I think the answer from all of us would be the same here. That comes down to how you've learnt to chart and identify your patterns of infertility and fertility. But basically the Billings Ovulation Method is designed to work no matter what phase you're in, whether it is, really long cycles with delayed ovulation, whether you are postpartum, whether you're approaching menopause. As long as you've been taught to recognize your individual symptoms and chart it accurately, then the rules should help you out there.
I think that's perhaps alluding to apps that are more algorithm based, and try and predict couples' fertile windows, whereas the Billings method is simply these charting systems are simply a way of the couple and the woman recording day by day their signs of fertility, and with their knowledge of the Billings method, interpreting whether those days are fertile or infertile, regardless if they bleed every 28 days or every 200 days.
That's right. And this is where it's really important that you do learn to use the Billings Ovulation Method with an accredited teacher, because they will help you figure that out. There's another question here asking on fertility pin. Oh, does the Fertility Pinpoint website have a fee as well? Yes, there is. You can. I can't remember the fees off the top of my head. Sorry, but there is a subscription fee. You can pay for a 5-year subscription or a 1-year subscription, but it's fairly minimal. Do the apps cover the pregnancy time? Yeah, so basically if you are pregnant, then you don't need to chart your cycle. So you can have a break from charting and then start charting again once the babies come along. We've got another question here from Margie. Thanks everyone. In my work, acupuncture, I see so many women who have ended up in IVF clinics. In our discussions, the overwhelming issue is that women, men, couples, and often their primary healthcare practitioners have minimal fertility awareness. Anything we can do to enable people to understand and manage their own fertility is so worthwhile. Yeah, great point. Thanks, Margie. Sorry, it wasn't actually a question, just a little comment there, but a valuable one. Thank you. And there's a question about fertility pinpoint again. How can we see a complete cycle on the screen? Basically, you can't on a phone because the screen is too small, but if you're on a computer, then you can see it on your computer screen. And you can just change the size of the window to show the complete cycle in one line. Another one about fertility pinpoint. Can the client complete her own health chart, then share with the teacher? Yes, she can too. But again, that information would be taken in the client history record. Yeah. Great. I think that's pretty much most of the questions we've answered, guys. Was there anything anyone else wanted to add? Oh, we've got one here. How do we find a Billings method teacher? Great question. Head to the Billings website.
And there is also a, on the Billings website, which is billings.life, if you're not in Australia, you can go to the contact page and click on worldwide, and then that will give you a list of all the teachers around the world, the Billings centres around the world and their contact details.
And also on the Billings app, if you do not know, just click on the top right corner menu and select I want to learn, or I need a teacher. An email notification will be sent directly to the country administrator. So that way, you know, somebody from WOM will contact you with a valid accreditation teacher.
Thanks, Adrian. And for teachers who are wanting to get a copy of the client's chart and save it in their history card, basically you could just use the snip and sketch tool to do that. Just take a little snapshot and paste it into where you keep your client notes. We do have another question here asking, have you found clients using the approved Billings apps with the freely available tracking apps to manage their cycle, and what's the downfall of using the free fertility tracking apps? I guess that's pretty much just coming down to are we using a calendar or rhythm-based method, or are we using an actual fertility awareness-based method? The biggest downfall of the fertility tracking apps that aren't based on the woman's individual recognition of her symptoms and just a set number of days in each phase, then it's not going to be accurate.
And I think that there was a recent ABC article that was saying that the majority of women have found that the other fertility tracking apps are not accurately predicting ovulation. That was just from a study they found.
Yeah. Great. Well, that's pretty much all the questions answered. Thanks, everyone.
And yeah, I'd just also like to extend a special thank you to our speakers for this evening. It was really great to hear from all of you as a teacher, and also for the people out there wanting to learn about these apps. So we really appreciate your time, and also for Felicity to tell us about that exciting program she's doing with young women. That's also great. So thanks, guys. And also to everyone who's joined in, thank you for joining us for National Fertility Awareness Week. You'll see on the screen we do have our website there, billings.life. So you feel free to contact or phone us if you have any other questions, and also to find out that list of where you can get in contact with a teacher. So thank you, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night.
Good night. Bye.